Today I'm going to be installing these blackout door handles on the FJ Cruiser. So I'm going to be taking off the silver ones and putting on the black ones. Now all the FJ Cruiser Trail Teams editions came with black door handles, and we can buy those aftermarket. But these are made for a base model Toyota Tundra, and if you look around, these can be had for significantly cheaper than the Trail Teams handles, and that's what we'll be installing today. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is pop out this little black plastic plug right here that hides a screw behind it that holds the door handle in. To do that, I'm going to use a screwdriver and with a little piece of duct tape over the end. And I put the duct tape on there. I think I put 2 layers on in order to not scratch the paint when we're coming up underneath here. Obviously metal on paint will scratch the paint, but this should help prevent that. Now I'm going to use a T30 Torx bit to unscrew the screw that holds the handle in. And that's going to stay in the door. There's actually a couple plastic tabs that keep it in place and keep it from coming out. So we're just going to loosen it, leave it there, and then we'll pull the door handle off. Now this back piece with the lock mechanism comes out first. So even with these rubber coated gloves, I'm having a hard time grabbing this. So I'm just going to stick my key inside it to help give a little bit of a helping hand. The key isn't really needed, but it's going to help give something to grab onto. I'm not going to put too much pressure on it, but just enough to help. Something to wiggle it around with. And that's what this one looks like. And now this handle just slides to the rear, so we're going to pull it out maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. There's a couple of little plastic tabs in here we don't want to break by sliding it straight back. And just slide it back. And there it is. So if we look at the new Tundra handle and the old FJ handle side by side, you can tell they're identical. Or as identical as a factory part versus an aftermarket part can be. Now if we look at the factory handle, we can see that there's some grease on this part of the handle here and on this part of the handle down here, the yellow stuff. So we're just going to replicate that on the replacement handle when we put it back in. Ideally, I'd probably use some white lithium grease, but I don't have any of that right now, so I'm just going to use some silicone paste, and that will work just as well. But before I put the grease on it, I just want to make sure that this fits like it should. So we're going to do a test fit right now. Again, we'll put this end in first. Pivot it this way. Leave it sticking out just a little bit. Slide it forward. It looks like we're having a little bit of an interference issue here. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but there's a little plastic tab right there. And on the bottom here as well. You can see it right there. And there's another one on the bottom right down here. And those actually have holes on the back side of the handle that they slide into. So we're just going to need to do a little bit of fine tuning on this to make it fit perfectly. After looking at it carefully on the door, I figured out that it's interfering on the inside part of the hole where the little tab needs to go. So next to this big post here on both of these. So I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to carve it out just a little more. Plenty of different tools that could be used for this. A file, a Dremel. Even melt it with a soldering iron. But this is what I'm going to use. And we'll make it work. So now that we've got this thing all carved out, let's give it another try. Would also like to note that I tightened up the screw on the handle because it came very loose. It was actually about to fall out, so I'll definitely check that on the other side as well. And as we can see, closes nice and tightly now. So I'm just going to pull this back out and grease up the spots that had grease on them on the old handle. So with a light coating of silicone paste on the areas where we found grease on the other ones, this end and on this end also. Like I said, if I had white lithium grease, I'd probably use that instead, but this stuff is great for a lot of purposes, this one included. So we're just going to use this and we're ready for final assembly. Now we'll just transplant the lock mechanism onto the new black housing. So if you look at this, you can see there's two tabs where the metal body is held into the plastic housing. There's one right here, and then one on this side. So we're just going to pick one, stick a screwdriver in, with a little bit of pressure, and out she comes. Now exactly the reverse to put it in the black one. Now we'll just slide the cylinder assembly back into place. And tighten up the Torx bolt. And put the cap back on. And that's it. Here's the final product. I wouldn't complain if they were a little darker black, but for the price, they surely can't be beat. And they took just a little bit of modification to fit, as you saw. The reviews that I read prior to purchasing these, some people said they fit FJ Cruisers, other people said they didn't, and I'm willing to bet that that little problem where we had to take the knife is why people said they didn't fit. So, as we can see, they fit quite well on this one. And I think it's definitely a better look. So I do have black mirrors that I'll be putting on. I'm not sure if I'm going to put those on next or if I'm going to start on a different project. But at some point they will be going on for sure. And that will also be a power mirror conversion, because these are not power mirrors and the black mirrors that I'm putting on are power. The other side will be exactly the same procedure as this one. So I'm not going to bore you with that. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like if you liked it or found it helpful, and hit that subscribe button for more on this FJ build to come.